Bombshell this week in Quebec politics, and Captain Canada, Pablo Rodriguez, is in deep trouble. Pablo Rodriguez is supposed to be Quebec's Captain Canada, a federalist anchor in a province where next year's election could decide the future of the country. But this week, he's facing the worst crisis of leadership of his tenure. First, he suspended his parliamentary leader, Marois Risky, the most liked and most influential liberal in Quebec. Why? Because of a complete breakdown of trust of his team, and now the caucus is in disarray. Then came allegations of irregular payments during the leadership race, allegation that the party denies, but that will end likely in investigations. This is damaging at the worst possible moment. Old corruption ghosts are coming back to haunt the party. And all of this is happening while the Parti Québécois and its leader, Paul St-Pierre are rising at levels not seen in a generation. In less than a year, Quebec votes, and for the first time in decades, Canada will be on the ballot. So the question is simple. Can Pablo Rodriguez still be Quebec's Captain Canada, or is this crisis the beginning of the end? This is an ongoing crisis. New information could arise as we are filming, but here's what we know tonight. This week, Quebec politics was shaken by two shocks, both in Pablo Rodriguez's own party. First came the suspension of his parliamentary leader, Marois Risky, the most influential liberal at the National Assembly. Why? Because she fired the chief of staff without informing the leader. And according to media reports, that triggered a complete breach of trust. Within the hours, Pablo Rodriguez suspended her from the caucus. For a party already fragile, it exposed more division, a caucus divided and questioning its leader. Then, less than 24 hours later, a second crisis hit. A report from the Journal de Montréal revealed allegation of irregular payments during the leadership race. Apparently, $100, a brownie, was given to Rodriguez supporters to vote. Those allegations are serious and will be investigated. The party denies any wrongdoing, but for the Quebec Liberal Party, a party still marked by past scandals, the timing could not be worse. These two events, back to back, created a perfect storm. A leader under pressure, a caucus in disarray, and old ghost of corruption coming back to haunt the party. For Pablo Rodriguez, this isn't just a bad week. It's the kind of week that reshapes leadership or breaks it entirely. To understand why this crisis matters, we need to understand who is Pablo Rodriguez and how did he become the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party. Pablo Rodriguez was born in Argentina and he came to Canada as a child as his parents were fleeing a military dictatorship. He grew up in Montreal East End, started as community work, then became a federal liberal organizer, a backroom politico, before becoming a politician. He was elected member of parliament in 2004, starting a long career of politician, first as an opposition MP. His rise accelerated when Justin Trudeau became prime minister, and he brought him in as senior roles in his cabinet. He fulfilled many roles in Ottawa as heritage minister, transport minister, even being the government house leader, dealing with opposition party in parliament. After more than a decade in Ottawa, and as federal Liberals' numbers were plummeting, Pablo Rodriguez made the rare move. He crossed the Ottawa River and came to Quebec to run for the leadership of the Quebec Liberal Party. Rodriguez won the leadership, but barely. The race exposed a divided party. Some backed his experience, but others worried that his federal experience would not translate into Quebec politics. He walked away with the title, but not the united party. That fragile mandate makes today's crisis even more dangerous for him. That's how he became Captain Canada, a term I use because in Quebec, traditionally, the Liberal leader is the lead defender of federalism in Quebec. And when the country's future is on the line, we expect the liberal leader to defend the country. But this week, it raises a bigger question. What happens to the country when Captain Canada in Quebec is in trouble? Here's what's at stake if Pablo Rodriguez doesn't take this crisis by the horns. We're less than 1 year away from Quebec election, and the Parti Québécois is leading in the polls for the past 18 months. Momentum, polls, organization, recruitment, the Parti Québécois is rising at the exact time the Liberal Party is now facing its biggest crisis. And that matters because in Quebec politics, the Liberal leader isn't just the head of a party. They're the main defender of federalism, the one person that needs to be strong while the country is on the line. Right now, the PQ is united, but the Liberals are stunned. If this continues, the Federalist voice will be weakened in Quebec. If this crisis gets worse, if Pablo Rodriguez doesn't regain control, it could give the PQ and PSPP a historic win in next year's election. Not necessarily a referendum tomorrow morning, but a political environment where federalism is weak and sovereignty has room to grow. When Quebec's Captain Canada is in trouble, the whole of Canada could be in trouble. So what happens next? I believe there are 4 possible scenarios. Each of them have real consequences for Quebec and for Canada. Scenario 1, Rodriguez survives the crisis. He stays leader, stabilizes the caucus, and tries to rebuild. But he's weakened. And a weakened Captain Canada 1 year before an election leaves federalism exposed at the worst possible time. Scenario 2, Rodriguez resigns. The party avoids deeper conflict, but enters a leadership vacuum right before a crucial campaign. A slow, messy race could give the Parti Québécois a huge advantage simply by staying united while the Liberals search for a new identity. Scenario 3, Rodriguez is pushed out. This is the most chaotic option. If the caucus forces him to step aside, the Liberal risk open a warfare between factions. The exact scenario that could lead to a historic collapse in 2026. And that collapse could make the PQ's path to power even clearer. Scenario 4, a new Captain Canada emerges. If Pablo can't hold the line, someone else will try. Maybe a Liberal, maybe an outsider, maybe even another party leader who senses an opening. But one thing is certain, the federalist space in Quebec won't stay empty for long. That's why this moment matters, because no matter which scenario happens, the next election is now shaped by one question. Who defends federalism when Captain Canada is in trouble? Pablo Rodriguez entered this job to stabilize a party and to hold a federalist line in a province where next year's election could reshape the country. But today, he's facing the worst crisis of his leadership at a moment where Quebec's politics is shifting under his feet. What happens in the next few weeks won't just decide Pablo's future. It will also shape how Quebecers vote in 2026 and what kind of Canada they'll be voting for. Because when Quebec's Captain Canada is in trouble, the whole country feels the tremors. This is Distinct, Quebec politics with an accent. I'm Farouk Karim. À la semaine prochaine.